Hey
Hey
everybody,
everyone.
it's Meeple Syrup Night. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing all right.
Doing good.
And this is Daniel, everybody. Daniel
Hello.
Tozier's here from where are you from actually?
Los
Daniel, I
Angeles,
didn't ask.
California, right now.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah,
the city of angels. Excellent,
yeah,
excellent,
that's what
excellent.
they say.
And are you originally from there? You said now.
I'm from one of the many suburbs that orbit Los Angeles, but
Oh,
now me
okay.
and my wife live
Okay.
here in Los Angeles proper. So
Okay, so you're Californian native,
I am,
born
yes.
and bred. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
So it is also George time where you are. It's 6 o'clock.
Yes.
For me, Sen
Oh yeah,
time is 9 o'clock. And if we were talking cat time, it'd be like what, 2 o'clock for cat, three
Yeah,
o'clock for
something like
cat.
right now, 2 in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So,
so. We have
uh,
three cats. I'll check with them.
Cat's George's wife, who used to be one of the co-hosts of the show. So, hey,
Ah,
we are going to talk about George's ongoing quest to figure out why people play games, but not in the same physical space as each other, and how they do that, and what does that mean for design, and what does that mean for audience and play and all that kind of stuff. George, can you kind of reformulate your actual question before I like put too many words in your mouth?
Oh, I mean, it's not so much a question as just an exploration of this sort of space. Like I didn't have a specific like I'm trying to answer this problem, but like this is a thing that people do, and when we think of tabletop games, we think of them in tabletops. But when we're talking about board
Hence the
games and
name.
RPGs, and yes, yeah, I suppose it is. Yeah. It obviously doesn't have to be that way. So why don't we? And we don't talk about that much. So I thought it was a
Right.
chance.
yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. And so we brought Daniel on. Well, was Daniel the person who actually kind of like when you found out what he was doing, was he the one who kind of like spurred this whole thing on?
So the brief story is you've seen Foyo Games show up in chat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Lamarcus just messaged me saying like, hey, I know this person who's doing something pretty interesting. If you're looking for guests, and I looked at it and I thought it was pretty interesting. And yes, your content was the thing that made me think, well, we could do a whole month about this sort of. So this is a
Ah,
jumping off point.
I
Right. And
see.
so last week we had Heather Newton from Protospiel Online, which is a game design convention conference that takes place wholly online, which is cool and use technology and virtual tabletops. And then you're here this week. And then I think on the 29th, because he is not available next week, we're going to have Spencer Stark of Daggerheart fame. But actually, before Daggerheart, there was this little thing he did called Alice is Missing, which is actually very
Oh,
cool. And we're going to talk to Spencer about that, which is great. Spencer's a
that's
good
exciting.
guy.
I have that game, but I haven't had a chance to play it.
Oh well, you should probably play it
I
in
know.
in
I
like
know.
in response to Spencer being on the show. And then next week we don't actually have a guest lineup yet. Yet.
Okay.
It was supposed to be Spencer, but he can't make it next week. So George, we need to find somebody else who also
Fits the
plays
theme.
games away from the table, but they're tabletop games. So we can talk about that in
I
terms
might
of
have
what do we want what
some
do we want to look
ideas.
at. Oh,
Okay,
cool.
it
All
just
right.
occurred to me.
Well,
Um,
write them down. We'll
okay.
we'll click them off later. But
Okay.
today, everybody, we have Daniel with us. Hey, Daniel, can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself in terms of your your gamer cred? No, I'm just kidding. Like, how did you? When did you start gaming? How did you start gaming? And
Yeah.
then how did you start making your own games? I think people love hearing about that kind of stuff. Hey, Foya, there we go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Marcus, what's up? Yeah, my introduction to gaming. I mean, as a child, we grew up playing Monopoly, Life, kind of those standard
Hmm.
uh, game covered games. It wasn't until I went to a Starbucks with a friend and somebody broke out Catan and taught me how to play that. So I'm another Catan initiate into this hobby.
Yeah, that's very
And
common. Very common story.
yeah, yeah, and it's a good game. And then I discovered Shut Up and Sit Down, and kind of like realized there was this whole world of just really interesting games and mechanics and themes that people were bringing to the table. So yeah, that was what launched me into it.
That's interesting. I thought you would have said
Mhm.
that, you're like a D&D player or something like that from ages
No,
gone by.
I know you would think. I played D&D once, a lot of fun, but it was that thing of when can we get back together again, et cetera.
Oh, which leads you down this actual path that we're talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because you don't need to get the party together at the same table when you can adventure
just
by
right.
mail, right?
Exactly, exactly.
So, in
Yeah,
terms of other things that you are bringing to the table,
mhm,
like how did you start making your own stuff, and
mhm.
whatever possessed you to say, I've got the skill set to do this thing that doesn't exist as a job classification anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would call it a job at this point, but, it is an enjoyable hobby.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was, me and my wife were going on, a vacation. This was 2020, so, like,
around the
COVID was
pandemic.
going strong,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
and so we just booked an Airbnb, just us, kind of out in the woods. Um, I know she likes to take naps on vacations, that's her time to, like, recharge and sleep,
sure,
and
love it.
Dicebreaker had just put out a video of solo, um, tabletop RPGs. One of those was The Machine by Adira and, oh, I wrote down the name so I wouldn't get it wrong, Adira and Fen Slattery. Um, and that was kind of a revelation. I sat down and played that one afternoon when she went to go take her vacation nap, and was just so surprised the way my own story kind of unfolded through the cards and the mechanics. Um, as a writer, the blank page can be a scary thing. Um, you just kind of freeze up when you can do anything. And so having the restrictions that come with a game like hers or a game like theirs um, was, yeah, it was really great just to see a story build through that. That was almost, well, was a lot easier than if I just sat down to write the story myself.
Right,
Um, and so then I immediately thought, like, well, this is really cool as a journal game, but what if you were like using a similar system to send letters back and forth? What if you could put
oh,
the card in the letter and send that? That would be kind of cool, kind of fun. And so I kind of used part of their system where the suit of the card determines the tone of the letter, and then the value of the card determines the topic of the letter, what you're going to be writing about. And I started to build my first adventure by mail game called the Resistance of New Holloway on top of that system. That's why I always say it was inspired by, or even a hack of the machine by those people. Um, then I added on the Aces system, which we can talk more about later. That's kind of the core of the storytelling element of my
hmm,
games. Introduced the mailing mechanics of how you get things back and forth and track. Um, and yeah, then the 2020 election started to come up, and in the US, and the Republicans were trying to defund the postal service to slow down mail-in voting. Um, and that was kind of the push I needed to finally, like, all right, I am gonna do this. I'm gonna put this down. I'm gonna publish it. I'm gonna find a way to get it out to people. And that was, yeah, that was the first one.
and that's when you found like itch.io, or
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
And I
so
mean, since then, I've discovered a host of other great games on there and great creators on there.
yeah, let's
It's a cool
just
place.
post the link right now. So for everybody
Oh
out
yeah,
there, I
thank you.
know color contrast isn't that great, but it's adventure with no S, adventure
Correct.
by mail dot
Mhm,
itch.io. And
mhm,
if you've never been to itch.io, everybody, because maybe you're not a role playing gamer or a computer video game creator,
mhm,
that's who usually uses itch.io. It is a very lean site that allows you to make like a landing page, host all of your documentation there. It's really supposed to be for indie game developers to kind of allow the community to subscribe and get updates on their video games. But
yeah.
because it is so, the model of payment of how much the host takes of the payment from you
Mhm,
is basically how much does it cost to download the thing. And so for a lot of RPG designers, they're like, my thing's a one-page PDF. So if I charge, even like $2, I'm going to make 99% of that $2 because it's like a 64 megabyte download, all arted up, right? It's not this giant like gigabytes worth of graphics and gameplay that you get in a video game. So if you don't know itch.io, you might want to go take a look at it. At some point, I think I need to make a tutorial of how to use it, but and like how to sign up and use it as a creator. I actually don't use it much as a creator, so maybe we can sucker somebody else into doing that.
Hey,
That'd be lovely.
Let me know. I'd be happy to help.
Yeah, that'd be
Anything
awesome
to get more creators out there.
Sure. Actually, so while we're here, George knows this, but so I sit on the executive board for the Tabletop Game Designers Association, and we run like a webinar series for members. And one of the webinars that I would love to have is an itch.io webinar on like taking people through the creation process of like setting up an account and uploading their first document on there and something like that. So if you're good at that, or you can do that, that would be lovely.
Yeah, I have experience of
awesome.
Love to.
I wanted to ask you a quick question before you keep on telling your story. When you said writers, so is that your primary thing, is writing?
Yeah. For a lot of my career, I've been writing professionally, and then on the side, just enjoying the craft on my own.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of journalism or copywriting or things of that nature, marketing, that kind of thing.
Excellent. All right. So, George, we've got adventure by mail, and we have the concept of the mail service kind of getting all shot to pieces by, and it's funny because it's happening in Canada as well, but not for the same reason.
Right.
So the Canadian reason, do you know what the Canadian reason is? The Canadian reason is that we've gotten so much into late stage capitalism as a society that people think a government organization that is a service should turn a profit.
Okay, you beat me to what I was going to say. Yes, people don't understand there's a difference between a business and a service. And a service is not meant to make money. A service is the thing that everybody needs, and so we collectively say we should have this thing.
And so we pay tax money to it.
Yes, which would be which is generally far less per person than it would cost for you to fund that as a private enterprise.
Well, have you ever got something couriered to you by UPS?
I have.
And that's expensive, right?
Yes.
So, anyway, political horses must not be ridden during the show. Or, I mean, they can, whatever. But anyways, that's kind of the impetus. I think that, Daniel, you're saying that kind of pushed you over the edge of saying, we need to do this, right?
Yeah. I wanted to see, it's going through that time and going through this time, even now, it's easy to feel like, there's nothing I can do to improve anything. And so any small thing that I felt like I could do, no matter how small, I kind of jumped at and was like, well, if this makes a little bit of a difference, at least it'll make me feel like I'm not helpless,
Right. It's like you take the power that you can, right?
Exactly.
You grab onto it and you hold on to it. I mean, Marcus is saying that he's scared right now about a bunch of his profits getting eroded because he does a lot of reselling through eBay.
Yeah,
then if you imagine all the tariff, not that eBay stuff would, I mean, it might, I don't even know if it would get tariffed or not, but because of country of origin, who knows? I don't. But even things like the de minimis getting taken away and all these things are just making life just harder for people to, I don't know, live.
Just live at a base level of not even comfort, but of just
survival, right?
Sustainability. Yeah.
So, and your first game that you mentioned, what was the title of it? It was something about.
It's the Resistance of New Holloway. So it is like you're a resistance member in a fascist country trying to sabotage or do what you can to make things better.
Are you trying to send mail?
That was a fitting theme.
It is. So before we get into the game itself,
art imitates
can
life.
You tell me? Can you tell me why stories? Why writing? Why
Mhm.
stories? What is it? What do they do for you in terms of play, but also in terms of like, what's the power of story in your opinion?
That is a big question. I mean, for me, it's
Yeah, it's like your
everything. For
dissertation, right? Yeah.
yeah, right. As someone who grew up reading fiction, and just like falling into world after world, I feel like story is such a powerful conduit for people to explore their own humanity, to explore the humanity of other people, to develop empathy. It's it's just good for so much of that. I think it's how we as humans understand ourselves, um, as individuals, as a species, as countrymen of whatever country we're from. It's Yeah, I think to not engage in story is the greatest human sin that you could commit against yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I like that you're saying it's against yourself. Did you know? I don't know if
Mhm.
you've seen the stats lately, but the number of American children who do not read a book like at least once a
Oh
week,
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
skyrocketing.
It's
Like
scary.
Mm.
it,
It's
it's
scary.
it's pretty scary
Yeah.
how little care there is for literacy and
Mhm.
all these types of things. And so I find it very funny
Uh-huh.
that books are getting banned all over the place because
Right.
ain't nobody reading them.
Yeah,
So
they're on TikTok.
Yeah.
right?
No, but it is scary, and
Well,
I don't
yeah,
think we're gonna know, the true effects of that until
Um,
way later, unfortunately. So
no,
I have seen
and
some.
I do think there's other problems with what happened in like
sure.
COVID and
Yeah.
all this
Sure,
stuff too.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah. Sorry, George, I cut you
Say,
off.
I
Go
have
ahead.
seen some research showing how like engaging with fiction is one of the ways that we really develop empathy for other people.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't work nearly as well in anything other than the written word. Where like I
Hmm.
guess there must be something about consuming it that way where you put yourself in it as opposed to being
Yeah.
separated from it that gives that sort of connection. I don't have any of the
Well,
literature in front of me where
so
I'm pulling this from, but
Mhm.
So if you're talking like from a perspective like psychological perspective, and which
mm,
is my area of study, not particularly reading, but I study communication science, right? So reading is a part of communication. So I have a lot of knowledge about reading, but not as much as I have about expressive communication in terms of like writing and speaking. But point being that when we read, it is an actual like labor, right? It's an effort to read. It's not as much of an effort to watch and listen. You still have to process, but a lot of people just don't. And they sit very passively during like a movie or during like they're just eating popcorn and watching and
mm,
maybe going ooh and ah when big explosion happened.
Mhm.
But reading is like a you have to commit to the bit. Like you really have to if you're going to get something out
mm,
of it, you have to commit. And readers, especially people who like to read, they're all in. They're like I'm committed to this 500-page novel
mm,
that uses hard words, and I'm going to go look up all these words because I don't understand and I want to understand. And I think
mm,
that's part of the problem that we had, and with kind of the systems that we use these days in terms of education and whatnot. um and I actually wanted to tell you this, George, where you're saying I didn't really have a question, and my rebuttal to that would be to have a question. You should always have a question. Always be curious. But I think that's part of what reading does to you. It makes you curious because you want to know what's going to happen next. And it's
Mhm.
not the same as a movie. You work
mm,
to find out what's going to happen next, and so you feel like you've actually accomplished something, which is another weird trend that's going on right now. But like I've read 3 books or 15 books this week. It's
mm.
like, did you really read them? Or I don't know what you're doing here, but is that really reading? And can you tell me about what happened in that story? Or you just like, is it like the 10,000 steps that you walked? Are you just, is it just a metric that you're aiming for? And shouldn't the metric really be like deep understanding of that book, or at least some level of understanding of the book?
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress. But
Hey.
yeah, so George, if you're like if you have a question about something, your brain is more likely to like actually seek out the solution or find the solution when it presents itself to you. And so I think reading is very hopefully done in curiosity. by people who, who see the benefit of reading anyways. And I think that links to gaming as well, because all the things that Daniel said about gaming, I think are, or sorry, about reading, about how, it's could be the biggest, one of the biggest personal sins you commit against yourself. I might be paraphrasing a bit here, but I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
I think games are similar in that regard, that as humans, we learn so much from gaming and playing games and being a part and immersing ourselves in these potentially imaginary worlds, or just in rules that we are living and breathing and exacting, or committing ourselves to breaking rules within the confines of a protected quote unquote magic circle. Um, they allow us to do like literal like moral development, right? So anyway, long story short is I agree, Daniel, in terms of story and the power of story. And so with Adventure by Mail, tell us what your goal was. Tell us why you moved away from like being around a table to being like, hey, mail some stuff in.
Yeah, part of it was definitely COVID. I mean, nobody was getting around a table for any reason back then. Um, so I did feel like it would be a really great fit for that.
They were all
But
napping in Airbnbs, right? So
they apparently that's what you do. Um, but what I really wanted to do was, I've been t- toying with writing fiction kind of my whole life, but struggling with it for reasons I couldn't really define. And then I started reading books like Anatomy of Story or Anatomy of Genre or Story Grid. These are basically books that take the storytelling rules that really everyone's using in fiction and screenwriting of all levels, and basically teaching you, hey, there are actually like preset structures and rules and systems and ways to design a character and a villain and a protagonist that you don't have to like figure out from scratch. You can build off of what others have like discovered in this field. And that was a revelation, because I was like, oh, it's actually not that difficult to like fully write a story once you understand there's scaffolding that you can use. And that doesn't mean your story is going to be um, full of tropes and cliches. There's ways to do it with originality, and in fact, that's like what professionals are doing to develop their stories. And so, what I did with Adventure by Mail was I introduced what I call the ACE system. So, uh, when you're playing the game, you're getting a letter with a playing card in it, and that card might be a two of clubs, and the two is the topic, the club is like the tone, but it might be an ace. And so throughout the game, you'll get all four aces. And what these do is they lead you to special prompts on the back side of the trifold that are basically walking you through how to tell a story in a certain kind of genre. And they're giving you those beats, and they're saying, introduce the villain here. Think about why he's the right fit for this protagonist. Or for a very specific example, I have a game called The Wanderers, which is a love story that's set on like an interstellar new colony out in space. And it's made to be told as a love story. And so the third ace has you breaking up with your love interest, because in a romantic comedy, three-quarters of the way through the movie, it always happens. They break up for some reason, right? This is like standard, and it's not a trope to have that, because if you didn't have it, the audience who has seen love stories before, they're going to come to your story and say, well, I kind of know somewhere in my head that they're supposed to struggle at this point, and it didn't happen. So, and it throws off the whole thing, even if they can't quite articulate why they feel that way.
yeah, it won't
And
resonate, right?
exactly, yeah, yeah. And so that's kind of an example of what I'm trying to do in the games is show people that they, given the right tools and lessons, they can tell their own stories in a really interesting way.
That's really cool. So the aces are
Mhm.
like, it's not like the ace of hearts does one thing, but it's just like ace number one does
No,
something. Ace number
exactly. Yeah.
two. Okay, cool.
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah. So it's like it's the four like main structure points of their story are the aces. So it kind of
Mhm.
forces them to hit that and write about it. And yeah, then
That's
they
really
end up with a
cool.
story that's like structurally sound and like you said, resonates.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
Marcus is saying every story is the hero's journey, right? Would you agree or disagree?
I would agree with Marcus because we're good friends. No, yeah, I mean, it is mostly the hero's journey is everywhere for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So I've talked about this before on the show that, that different literature styles from different communities and cultures have
Hmm.
different arcs. So I would argue that the hero's journey is not necessarily what you will find in, say, Asian writing. Asian writing doesn't follow the hero's journey quite the same way. Um, and it's more circular. It's this big circular thing that
Hmm.
eventually gets to this point, but you're always circling around it. Whereas a lot of hero's journey is kind of the classic Western style of writing, right?
Yeah,
Or
that is
storytelling,
true.
and that's fair. One of the things that I really liked using was Dan Harmon's was it story
Oh
circle,
yeah,
story structure?
story circle. Yeah.
Um, yeah, the story circle is very. It's not quite as linear as,
Hmm.
say, the hero's journey is, but it is very. Um, it hits all the right beats, I think, for
Hmm.
modern storytelling, right? So that's what I've been using lately. So for those of you who are into writing, take a look at Dan Harmon's Story Circle. Another
Yeah,
thing that
very good.
that you mentioned, I think, when you were talking about the storytelling and the 4 points, is if you are out there and you're into games and you're also
Hmm.
into story and maybe story gaming,
Hmm.
Shakespeare, or know anything about Shakespeare, you might get a benefit from reading Hamlet's Hit Points, which is
Hmm.
by Robin Laws, who is like a great Canadian writer of RPGs. And
Okay.
it basically takes Hamlet and dissects it into story beats. And
Ah.
that kind of concept of giving you something that, like, most people at a certain point,
Hmm.
definitely my generation, the generation before. So we're talking about people who grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe, have studied Hamlet in high
Hmm.
school. It was part of the
Yeah.
curriculum.
Hmm.
And so it's something but then dissected into like game tropes and beats and that kind of thing. So like if you're a dungeon master or trying to write an adventure, or an author who wants to write a story that has some like game-ish
Hmm.
features to it or sensibilities to it, then take a look at that. Hamlet's Hit Points. Really good book. Okay.
Yeah, it's called
Yeah.
Hamlet's Hit Points. I love that.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. Marcus, you're right. Rick and Morty is Dan Harmon. That's right. Yeah,
Yes, and
that's
Community,
right.
one of my favorites.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
yes, Community. There you go. So, Adventure by Mail. How did that come to be? I mean, we talked about how it came to be. But what are players doing, and how you said they're getting an envelope with cards, and how does that happen? And is it electronic now? And what are you doing? I don't get the delivery system yet. So tell us about
Yeah,
that.
so it's a epistolary game. So it's a letter writing game. So if you think Dungeons and Dragons, but instead of around a table, you're writing a letter as your character, kind of recounting that part of the adventure to your friend who's also on their own similar adventure. Um, and so you'll mail the card to your friend, and they'll open it and use that card to start to formulate their response and build their own story. Um, so on one hand, you're both telling stories on your own stories, but then there's also opportunity if they want to intersect their stories to give each other advice on where they are, things of that nature. So that's not mechanically there, but it's encouraged for them to kind of build the world together.
And are these physical cards that are getting mailed?
Oh yeah, sorry, playing cards.
Okay.
Playing card. Yeah. So you'll start with a deck. I think it's a 12 card deck. So it's 8 random cards, all 4 aces. You can kind of shuffle them, but I think the rules have it distributing the aces so that they're parceled out, so you don't get them all at once or something. Yeah, and so that's 12 letters that you're going to be writing about your adventure.
As I was always reading through the different ventures, I was thinking about like, would I want to do this by email? And I realized no, I wouldn't, because for a couple reasons. One, there's something very intentional about literally. I mean, maybe you could type them. You don't have to write them by hand, but like actually putting down text on a piece of paper in some format, putting it in an envelope, and sending it. And two, like if you send an email, you expect people like, oh, well, they're going to respond in at least the next 48 to 36, 36 to 48 hours.
Yes.
But no one knows how long the mail is going to take. And there's some, it takes the pressure off of me who's going to be engaging in this. Like I can take the time it takes to write a letter and send it because it's going to take at least a week. And if it takes 10 days or 12, that's fine. No one participating in this sort of environment should be concerned about that. They're interested in, and you have that in the same way we used to have back in the day when like you would see an episode of a show for a week and then you had to wait a whole another week and you had anticipation
a whole week
and you got to think about
days.
it.
Yeah, you get to like
I think there's something
like,
special here in that like you have that sort of buildup of like what's going to come. And I think these are all very things that we have precious little of today.
And you anticipate it and you wait for it and like, oh, I hope I get this letter soon, and then it comes in. It's like a surprise, even though you knew it was coming.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think there's something really lovely about that, like really even cozy about that, whether the story is cozy or not. But just something like I'm waiting for this thing. I have something to look forward to. It's not. It could have been an email. No, it doesn't. Like, and there is something very, very just human about the analog process of like licking a stamp and like sticking it on, putting it in a mailbox,
using
and
the saliva.
All these little itty bitty processes that you have to do to send a letter. It's like writing a check. It's like, I mean, this is a true story about like my dad and checks, is that I used to think it was the coolest thing ever to watch my dad sign a check. Because it's like, what do you mean that's like equal to money? How does that equal money? And it's like magic. He signed his name. It's like, that's worth a bunch of money now. And I think we lose a lot of stuff in like the digitization of everything. Not everything has to be digital. And I also agree with handwriting. I agree that there's something about handwriting. I'm a stationery nerd. You can't see it, but I have like collections of stationery that some of them I will not use because I like them to be pristine because I'm that nerd. But also
I get that.
that I really enjoy like the feel of a good pen writing.
Yeah.
There's just something about it.
Have you tried a glass fountain pen yet?
I have. I don't own one. I tried a friend.
They're beautiful.
Like, maybe I should get one. But yeah, I know I have a JetPen account, right? So it's like I always like I'll buy it. Well, like they do some really cool things on JetPen. They'll like say, here's a I love brush pens because calligraphy and Chinese stuff, right? So I will always like, oh, brush pen set number 7. Okay, I'll buy that one. And it's just like 7 assorted random pens, and I rate them all. And I'm sure there's a whole branch of TikTok that is just about
I'm sure,
stationery. But I don't look at TikTok because I'm old. So anyway, but yeah, I think there's something really beautiful about actually sending it. Like when George mentioned it to me, I go, oh yeah, they're like, it's like PBEM, like play by email. And he's like, no, it's not. I said, oh, what are they doing? They're actually mailing stuff. It's like, that's weird, but cool, right?
Yeah.
Because you're right, George. I think there's that long like anticipation but that has less pressure. Very cool. So you were saying something.
Oh no, it's okay. I was me and Marcus are working through one of my games right now, the vampire one called The Unlit Path, and it's nice not to. I think when you get an email, part of your brain kicks in where you're like, this is an obligation that I have to do right now, or someone's going to get mad because of like some jobs we've had and stuff like that. But yeah, getting a letter, you don't have that pressure, like you said, George, and you get to like wait and contemplate and absorb it, and as you go about your day, and it's a physical thing on your desk that you see when you walk by, and yeah, all those things. I'm really glad that I have it set so that you're sending cards back and forth, so it kind of pushes people in that direction of like, yeah, you could play this over email, but don't, like, give it a chance. Use the mail. It's different. It'll hit different.
Well, that's it, right?
Yeah.
It's like the end result might kind of be the same, but it also won't. I think there's something about like the truly analog nature of it that is special, that is going to end up with a different vibe to it than what you might get if you did play it on a server or over email, or if you made something that randomly, I press a button and it randomly sends a card to my friend. It's like that. I get it. I could program that, but you know, why bother? Like,
yeah,
I get that the sending a card may cost money, may ruin a deck of cards. I don't know, but I think the experience is worth the like $7.53 that you're going to end up spending on cards and stamps, right?
Yeah, that's the plan.
And then you get cards back from your friend that you can add to your deck, and that's
your deck is fine. Yeah, they just
it's maybe
just
not
replace them. It's
legal,
fine,
but it's fun.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you and Marcus are working through one of the stories right now. So Adventure by Mail is like a system that you can apply different prompts to. Yeah,
that's one of the things that I really like about it, is that what I can do is take the prompts, take the ACE system, and really just drop any theme that I want on top of it. And, you know, I rewrite the ACEs, I rewrite the prompts so they're a little more fitting. I usually have a genre in mind that I'm trying to subtly kind of coach people through, whether that's like memoir or horror or a romance story like The Wanderers. But yeah, it really is exciting because any idea I have, I'm like, oh, I could just like, I could make a game out of this. Like this could work. Yeah. And I would love to see other people making games with this system so I could play them. That would be awesome. So feel free.
I mean,
if anybody
that's
wants
part of
to.
it, right? Is like this is a ABM hack, right? Or
exactly, yeah,
powered by ABM or whatever phrase you want to use.
Yeah,
I think that's lovely, and you're right. I think like you could write like the second you started talking about writing out letters, it's like, you know, dearest Martha, it's been 20 days since I last laid eyes on your face. The boys and I are bridging the ridge, and we're down to our last shot, you know, or whatever. It sounds like some Civil War letters to back home, right? So,
yeah.
But I think again, that is, as tropey as some of it is, that's kind of what gives it that vibe, right? That wholesomeness, that a story that people will get but still be surprised or still want to read more. And that's the other thing, like when you write the story, are you sending the story to your pen pal as well?
Yeah. So
okay, I didn't get that. Now that I asked,
the letter that
that makes sense.
Yeah, the letter that you write is what you're sending to your pen pal with the card for their letter.
The next card. Oh.
Yeah, so they end up with all the pages of your story. You end up with all the pages of their story. And by the end, you've told a story, you've heard a story, and
that makes so much more sense.
You came closer as friends.
I was wondering, like, do I just get the card and I write it for myself and I read my story to myself, and that's awesome? But I love other people to read this story. Okay, that makes more sense now. Okay.
Yeah, the premise of each game is that for some reason you and your friend have agreed to exchange letters as you're doing whatever it is the game has you doing.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the benefits of this system, seeing what you've laid out, is that it for people who've never tried to write anything or put anything down on a piece of paper that's creative, like for me at least, the hardest thing is to have a blank page with no constraints and no guardrails.
Yeah.
Like just so if someone just says write whatever you want, then I'm not going to write anything at all. But this has such a, I mean, I didn't realize that it actually had like a formal story structure built into it, but there's so many prompts and like it guides you, like just write something about this, and it's not like you're put in a little box, but you've got enough of a direction that I think it just it'll give people a chance to, who would not maybe consider doing anything like this just without those sort of rails, to engage in it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted these games to be and to become. One of the challenges of writing the prompts is I fall into the habit, and I have to catch myself, of writing a story through the prompts. And I have to remind myself, like, no, that's their job. This is so they can tell their story. Right. So I'll make prompts that are a little too specific, or where something like random might happen that wouldn't happen to two people at once. Because remember, both players are using the same system to write their letters. And so it almost has to be designed that they can write something that would surprise me as the creator. That's my goal when I start these. And that's the kind of northern star I have to keep in mind while I'm writing these prompts. Because it's easy to be like, oh, it'd be cool if this happened or if that happened. But I have to be like, no, let them decide if that happens.
Right. Okay.
They'll be more excited about that and more engaged. And
like it's almost as if you want to read the story in the final thing and not know which prompts they got.
Absolutely.
That'd be like the best. That would be like proof positive that the system worked, right?
Exactly.
If you enjoyed the story but couldn't tell exactly which prompts came up. Cool.
That's the truth.
So Marcus is saying that he thinks it's been about 2 months since the last letter, so he does actually feel obligated to make his next letter extra spicy.
Well, that was my fault. I held on to his letter for about 2 months, and then finally got mine out last week.
Yeah. And then he also said that the prompts, they really do bring out the creativity in you. It's like both of you have said this, and I believe this as well. Like when I play solo RPGs, the prompts are like the best part of the game. It's like, oh, I never would have thought about that, or like, you're right, what is happening over there? And
they make or break it for sure,
right? And like some of the best games, I was talking to just a person who found me by talking to somebody else, and they wanted to talk about RPGs and self-publishing and getting involved in the industry more. And they were asking, I asked them, well, what's your favorite RPG? He goes, honestly, it's Dread. Have you played Dread yet?
No, I think, speaking of Shut Up and Sit Down, I think Quinn's covered it on his new thing. Yeah, it sounded interesting.
Dread is a great game. It is a Jenga tower used as the randomizer, right?
Right.
And so if you pull and it falls, you're dead. Your character's it doesn't die now, but at some point in the story, your character will die. But one of my favorite things about Dread... Oh, where did Daniel go?
I'm not sure.
Have you lost him as well, George?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe he'll pop back in. Maybe he's in the basement and he's on Wi-Fi, so who knows? But I'll tell my Dread story. Okay. Oh, there he is. Well, I won't tell it now because Daniel's coming back. And there's like 2 of him. Here we go. Hey,
I'm back. I don't know what happened.
There you are. I don't know. I do not know. Okay. So I was talking about Dread, and the lovely thing about Dread, actually, my favorite part about Dread isn't the actual Jenga tower. That's like the close second. My favorite thing is character creation in Dread. Character creation in Dread is done by a list of questions. That's it. It's like 13 questions. The last question is always, what is your character's name? Right? Or what do other people call you? Or what moniker do you go by? What handle do you go by? But all the other questions are like sort of these prompts that make you think about, well, who is this character? Like, it's like, which of the other characters do you distrust and why? That kind of question. So it's like, it's slightly leading, but it's not super, super leading. And I think that's what I was sensing when you're talking about writing prompts, and writing prompts is difficult. Like, you want to take the story in a certain direction, or at least contain it, I guess is a better way to put it. Contain it
Yeah.
within like the structure of a genre, right? If this is a romance, there's not like, tons and tons of fighting and war. I mean, you can have romance during the war, but it should really kind of generally get back to like
It's a human
the
tale.
the romance between people. Because you can have a romance in outer space, that's totally fine, but it should not necessarily always be about the intricacies of the lightsaber or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So I do also feel that good prompt writing is got to be hard, because you're making something that should universally apply, but can't be so specific that it is like almost like a like a lawyer asks like a leading question, and they get like all
Yeah.
trounced on by the opposition.
Yeah.
Leading the witness. Judge bangs a gavel. So
Yeah.
you don't want any of that. So you could write a legal drama in your system.
Maybe that's the next one.
Maybe that's the next one. So how long have you been working on Adventure by Mail? And I can imagine that it takes quite a while to playtest because of the analog nature of it.
Yeah, well, the first time I play tested, it was just me and my wife at a table, kind of passing the card back and forth and verbally explaining, like, this is what my letter would be about. This is what my letter would be about.
Okay.
And that's kind of when I realized, oh, this works, because we were both telling each other this very different stories. They were interesting. They were engaging. So now when I play test games, I usually sit down and do the solo variant. And that's just so I can make sure that, again, the prompts are working with a varied amount of scenarios, making sure that something interesting is like emerging out of the game story-wise. And just making sure it's fun, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
If I'm playtesting my own game, the solo variant, and I'm like, when is this done? When am I done with this? And then that means there's more work to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A question about the card distribution. So you said that everybody gets all 4 aces in their deck, and you're like usually 2 cards ace, 2 cards ace, 2 cards ace, 2 cards ace, or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
something like that.
Those other 8 cards,
yeah,
are they random between both players, or do both players pick out the exact same cards, or do they pick out random, making sure that they don't duplicate?
No, yeah, those are random.
All random.
Yeah.
So by chance, we could have the exact same cards. It's a very low chance, but we could.
It's a low chance. But also you have to keep in mind that
the order changes too, right?
The order is going to change. The suit is going to decide the tone of the letter.
Yeah.
So you might have a letter about a phone call, but one might be focusing around guilt for some reason. Another might be focusing around celebration. And then these are also, the intention is that these in-between letters are acting as bridges between your aces. Your story ideally shouldn't pause between aces. It should be moving forward in some small way. Yeah. And so, like, even if you both got the phone call prompt and both were celebratory, they're being dropped into very different stories, and so they're going to inevitably be a little different. So
because of all the stuff that's happened before or after, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you're both starting with that same card, then chances are you're going to write something completely different anyway. So
hopefully,
different people with different things in your head about
right. Exactly. We'd hope.
You bring your own life into the story, so that creates differences.
Yeah. In terms of like hand holding, what kind of guidance does the system give, or do the rules maybe give to the players about writing, about like creating conflict, or what makes a good villain or whatever?
Yeah, that's what I actually did. Was one of the items on my shop is, it's for free, but it's not a game, it's a writing guide,
right?
Not just for Adventure by Mail, although it is like tailored for that. It really would work as a writing guide for stories for tabletop RPGs, and even to a degree just story in general, because so much of what I pulled to make that guide is what I've been using in my own stories from some of the books I mentioned before, like Story Grid, Anatomy of Story, Anatomy of Genre.
Mhm.
So that guide should ideally help people like get a jump start on not just story, but also start to kind of get a peek behind the curtain of Adventure by Mail, so they know, oh, this is what the game is trying to get me to. This is where it's pushing me. This is the direction that it's
Mhm.
trying to give me subtly. It's a little more overt here, so I can
Yeah,
kind
it's, like,
of
broken
grapple
down
with it.
into, like,
And exactly, yeah,
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 categorical things, and, like, everything has, like, a little name or whatever,
yeah,
like a terminology to it, right?
exactly, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
Cool.
that's free, so anyone can grab it.
Right, so on adventurebymail.itch.io, there's a
Exactly, yeah.
writing guide that you can download and use to write for this
Uh-huh.
game or for your own narrative
Yeah.
needs,
Or learn more about story. You'll
yeah, in
Once you
general.
start learning these rules, you immediately start seeing them
Which
in
is actually
every book,
really, I
TV
think,
show, everything.
important for game designers to think
Mhm.
about, right? Because unless your game is purely abstract, your
Mhm.
game typically does live in a world, right? Or is set in a place, and
Mhm.
there's a story, right? So there are at least three different types of stories that are I would associate with any game. Like, what is the story that the game itself is actually telling? What is the story of the game being played? You know, and do players tell stories about the game or
Mhm.
within the game? So there's lots of story that's happening around games in and of themselves. And there
Yeah.
is going to, in several of them, going to be like an actual story. Like there should be a like rising action and falling action and plots and
Mhm.
characters that might live and breathe through the game. Like this is obviously very, you know, oriented towards like a role playing game or even a board game that has campaign structure. Like it's important to understand story
Yeah,
to make a good
absolutely.
campaign. Like why is this battle less important or more important than this other thing that happened here and there? And
Exactly.
what happens in between is actually really important too to make that cohesive story where like things are contiguous, right? Like you said,
Mhm.
like bridging from the ace to the ace.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
almost conceptually you can abstract it out even further. I think that anything you're presenting to other people, to your audience, every audience has a certain set of patterns they expect from that sort of experience. If you made a
Mm.
chess variant where the knight moved an extra space up and to the right, it's not going to be broken, but it's going to confuse like 80% of the people for the first 5 times they play, and they're
Yeah,
going to get it
yeah,
wrong.
because it
Like
breaks a trope, it breaks a
you
rule.
have to have that
Uh-huh.
comfort before you add the surprise. So like
Mm.
Totally, yeah. That's a good way to put it. That's great.
Hmm.
I stole that
Yeah.
from someone else. It's not me. But
Yeah,
Yeah, I like it though.
but it is true that there aren't what and again, this might be a misquote. Like at the beginning of some movie, I can't remember which one it was. Like there are only X number of stories told in the world, and this is one of them, or
Yeah,
whatever.
this is one of
Oh,
them, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what that's
seen that.
from, but
Can't remember
it's
what it is.
familiar.
Yes, same.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I think the same thing with games, right? There are
Mm,
only so many stories, but it's like, how did you tell it? Who did you tell it
Mhm.
to?
mm,
What time was it set in? Yes, there are going to be similarities, but the differences are what make it interesting. The
Mhm.
similarities
mm,
are what makes you kind of want to still pay attention to it because you know that
mm,
something good is gonna come out
mm,
from this. It's
Yeah.
very much like games, George. Like when we talk about games a lot, if you look at games that are too innovative,
mm,
like nobody gets
Mm.
them.
Yeah.
Nobody likes them
mm,
until, way after their time. And the same thing happens with like really avant-garde music,
Mhm.
really like writing that is not done in the style that you thought it was
mm,
supposed to be done in.
mm,
Um, so even like just if you think about like modern storytelling, and if you watched The Witcher
mm.
on Netflix, the one with Henry Cavill, um,
Mhm.
like unless you knew that it was there was time jumping,
Oh yeah, yeah. That first
you would have
season.
been totally lost.
Mm,
I
But if you
haven't
played the
seen it,
games,
but
oh, spoiler alert, it's time
spoiler
jumping.
alert. Well, I played some of the
But
games, so
but if you played the games, you'd also know that because the games run like that too, I believe. If
huh.
I've only ever really played one. I didn't love it, so I didn't continue on with the series. But I was looking for something to watch during the dark
Mhm.
times of when that was
Yeah.
on. Anyways, so yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? If story convention is broken, then you might actually lose a lot of people because they're just not used
Mhm.
to it. Same thing with music. It's why jazz or certain forms of jazz are like, if you are into it, you love it, and 99% of the rest of the world goes, "That's just noise to me. That doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense,"
Yeah.
because they break all sorts of musical conventions to
Mhm.
almost create, I don't know, a new music, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing happens with storytelling. The same thing happens with all these things. And like I explained before, the difference between like Asian and American or Western style of storytelling is why a lot of people like find traditional Asian movies before they were influenced more by Hollywood to be very slow because they don't get to the point.
Mhm.
That's not how they're written. They're not written to
Yeah.
get to the point.
Yeah.
Whereas Western stories are very like
Driven. Yeah.
done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've seen it in Studio Ghibli films for sure. That
Yes. Yeah.
slow, meditative vibe that it's very intentional. It's what they're going for.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I was
Oh.
watching while you're okay.
No. Keep going, George.
I was
Say what you're gonna
watching
say.
someone discussing, with AI and that sort of thing, like that AI will never effectively be able to do a Studio Ghibli movie because
Hmm.
it doesn't comprehend the 10 minutes of nothing happening where everything is happening.
Yeah.
Like that's not something
Yes.
that you can easily convey. There's not 10,000 Ghibli movies that you can process through it where it can replicate. It just doesn't make sense in the normal, but it
Right.
also makes so much sense. There's a scene I'm just slightly into side, but like in towards the
Mhm.
end of Evangelion, where it's just like a minute of them
Yeah.
standing in the elevator as it's going up, and it's
Yeah.
like one of the most impactful scenes in the entire thing, and literally
Yeah.
nothing is happening. You just hear the elevator running, and
But
it's
Yeah.
everything's about to happen, and it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's the tension between you
Yeah.
fill in the gaps. Yeah, it's
There's another scene in Evangelion, like in like I think episode 6 or 7, where Shinji gets off the train, where he ran away and comes back. Do you
mhm.
remember? And he just stands there, and all you hear is the cicadas, and you hear the chime of the train. And if you don't understand Japan, if you don't understand Japanese culture, and you don't understand Japanese train culture, you won't get it. But everything about that says, "I'm back home." Right?
Mhm.
I'm coming
Gotcha.
home. Because every train has a specific chime, and you just know you're where you are because of the chime, and
Yeah.
Okay.
cicadas, and it's just a very welcoming scene and sound. It's like the sounds of summer in Japan.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anyway, so I just did a rewatch, which is why I'm talking about this, and
Okay.
all
That's
of
great.
the like the people who are less in tune with Asian culture, they're like, it's like when was that scene going to end? And then Nick and myself were like, oh my gosh, I couldn't get enough of that particular scene because it
Yeah.
just strikes you as like I'm home again. Anyways, like Okairi
Mhm.
and Taidamas and stuff. Anyways, moving on from that. Marcus has a question. He says, "Gonna tell the folks about the school system educational adventures by mail and the video game? What? What's going on
Oh
here?"
yeah, I was for a while looking into kind of retrofitting Adventure by Mail so that it could be used in schools to teach kids about writing, but also teach kids about history. Because for instance, the vampire game
Hmm.
that me and Marcus are playing right now, you're keeping track of each letter, and every 3 letters, it's a century jump.
Century, yeah.
So you
Ah,
start in
okay.
the 1700s.
Like
The
you're like a
first 3 letters,
1,000-year-old vampire as the
exactly,
game
yeah.
goes.
Yeah. So the first three
Another solo
letters are in the
RPG.
1700s. Yeah, there's a few of them. And then it ends in the 2000s. But I just thought it'd be interesting if like kids had to like research. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm in Rome,
Yeah.
not as vampires, because that's what I mean when I say retrofit. But like, oh, I'm in Rome in this time
Time
period, and
travelers.
they
Right,
do
yeah.
some research. Yeah, exactly. Time travel would work great. And then they see like, oh, what was life like there? What should my letter be about? What event occurred around my character? So yeah, that's been on the back burner for a very long time, but it's been in my mind of like, this could work,
No,
and I think kids would dig it.
that is brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm an educator by trade, and I think that is
Okay.
what is really that is something that might be missing, in terms
Mhm.
of like a I would see that in like a high school English
Mhm.
class, maybe like 11, 12, in terms of like creative writing
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
learning story structure, learning character arc, learning all that stuff.
Mhm.
That this could be a great tool for that, and because it is structured and there are prompts.
Mhm.
So the interesting thing about making games for teaching is that the most important thing isn't the game itself. It is important, but the
Mhm.
most important thing, honestly, is making
Is
it
the
easy for
cost.
the
Is that
no,
reason?
no, no.
Oh.
That is the thing. But if
Yeah.
it's free, great. But is
Yeah.
making it easy for the teachers to teach and use
Mm.
within the period structure, right? So
Right.
within like a
Right.
15-minute, oh, sorry, 15, 45-minute period,
Mhm.
can a teacher use your tool, and your tool is one that's going to last over several course classes, and that's fine,
Mhm.
but can they use it effectively in like a period structure, like, hey, give a
Yeah.
card to your next door neighbor or
Mhm.
the person you're partnered with, you have a half an hour to write,
Yeah.
you can hand it in, on the Google Dropbox tomorrow or whatever,
Mhm.
but give it, and then also making sure that they have like curriculum standards. So you'd have to sort of, and you can start with LA, or like
Mhm.
California, but you'd also maybe want to involve some of the other people from. So
Mhm.
in Gamma, in the Game Manufacturers Association, there are a couple people like Kathleen Mercury and some others who are very into games as education and games used educationally, and they might be able to help you figure out who you would talk to about getting curriculum guidelines at each state level, right? For this
Mhm.
type of thing, and what you'd have to create to do that, and then package. And by that time, you might have to charge some money because it's more work, right?
Right. Right.
But the
That's
idea,
interesting.
I think the idea is super strong. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. No. Thank you. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll bring it to the front burner.
Yeah, bring that to the forefront. Grants. That's a good question. I don't
Yeah.
know because I'm not American.
Ah,
And also in this current political climate, I'm not sure how much they care about reading and education.
yeah. I wouldn't bank on it.
I mean, if you made a story about wrestling, then
No.
maybe
Are you-
because the WWE, the isn't
oh,
the
that's
the
right. There's
wife
a
of Vince
fight
McMahon?
happening.
No, she is the minister, like one of the people who's in charge of education, isn't she? I can't remember. It's American
Oh my god.
politics. It's
You're
all this
right.
Oh, I
big
see.
Yeah.
show.
Well,
But yes.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
but I
you're
mean,
right. It is that.
wrestling itself is a narrative structure, right? If you think about it, it's like soap operas
Yeah.
for guys, right? So,
It is. Yeah.
and everybody else who likes wrestling doesn't have to be a guy. Um, yeah, Marcus is laughing now. Yes, we made Marcus laugh. Good us. Uh, so yeah, no, I think that's a brilliant idea to start taking a look at. How could this be applied to a classroom situation?
Mhm.
Another person who I think would be very interested in this is my other co-host for a podcast that we're starting, called TTRPG or RPG Roots, which is myself and Camilla Zamboni. She was the editor of the 56 micro games to use in a classroom. So
Okay.
56 TTRPG micro games that you can use in a
Mm.
classroom. And I think she'd be really interested in this. She's a linguistics professor. She teaches like Italian. She's from Italy, so that's what she teaches. But here in America, there in
Mhm.
America, I'm not there either. Anyways, so I just think this is like a lovely, simple, approachable system that
Mhm.
could be accommodated to so many different things. That is, you can see the potential in it already. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you're interested in getting in touch with any of these people, just email me later. You got my email, and we'll
Yeah.
put you in
I
touch
will.
with both of those people, because I think, like I said, as an educator myself, I hate the lack of literacy,
Mhm.
writing skills, reading skills, critical thinking skills, all these things that at at a university college level where I teach, if you don't have them, like, what are you even doing there? But we're getting more and more students that kind of lack some of these basic skills because of all sorts of factors, right? Technology, COVID was actually a huge factor in the cohorts that we're seeing now. But if a game can get them into it, if an interesting way of doing this, if they have a little bit of hand holding through the prompt system, and it's just 12 cards, guys. It's 12 cards total.
12 letters.
Right?
You can do it.
You can do it, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if you did that over like 12 classes. Boom.
Mhm.
That's like what? A month and a half? If you did like every second class or something?
Yeah,
Perfect.
that could work.
Yeah, it could work. Totally. Because then you'd want to do some teaching in between. Like you're going to get your first ace. Your first ace is this. How do you do a protagonist? Let's talk about that. And you have like little teaching things, curriculum guides that the teachers could use to learn about that. Because that's the other thing you have to understand, like, especially if you're doing it at a primary level, is that primary teachers, they're not necessarily experts in any of the subject matter, right?
Right.
Whereas when you get into like high school, usually those teachers are at least somewhat interested in the things they're teaching and have that as their teachables. Typically, I don't know what happens in the States now, but in Canada, that's how it works. Anyways, so good stuff.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
George, good choice, man. Like I think yeah. I think the idea of like not playing around the table in a game that lives, in your imagination as well as in somebody's mailbox and in a mail carrier's bag, I think is really a really phenomenal kind of thing to think about, right? And that somebody is waiting for it. Somebody's waiting for you to take your turn. And that turn could take a little while. And I think that's the other thing, George, that you said, that it's pensive and considerate and you're thoughtful about it, which is something, again, that I think a lot of people, like maybe the young Republicans could learn to be thoughtful about what they write before they press send on things. Just saying. Yeah. I will never be invited back to the States. Okay, cool. It is after 10 and somebody has to go to bed, and that somebody is me. But I would love to thank you, Daniel, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about where we can find things. So everybody, Adventure by Mail, if you're into storytelling and play by mail type games, which I bet you almost none of you have ever tried except Marcus, because you've been forced to by friendship. But everybody else, I mean, go take a look at it at least. Like, go look at itch.io. If you're not a role playing person, go take a look at itch.io and see, like, how can I use this platform to develop like a print and play game, like from a board game. That's fair. People do it. Yeah. And you can go find Daniel's stuff specifically at adventureboymail.itch.io. Okay. If you'd like to talk to me, send phone limb on Blue Sky. Apparently I drank coffee today. That's why I'm so talkative. Where are you, George?
Still Dreyerink on definitely Blue Sky, probably Instagram.
Many of the things.
Yeah, man.
See you later, Luke. It was good to see you, my friend. And you can find us all on Meeple Syrup on all the things. Daniel, where are you mostly?
Yeah, I am. You can find me on Blue Sky. I'm at Tozier, but it's got two E's, so it's Tozieer.
So even less common than Tozier.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
I felt the last one was too common, so I threw an extra E in there. And yeah.
If you'd like to help support us, keep our lights on, you can go to patreon.com/meeplesyrup, but don't feel obliged. George, hey, this is the first time. George, who are we shouting out today?
Well, I don't know if entirely unrelated to this because he does a lot of script writing, but there's a little group that I follow, based all over the States, but mostly in Texas, called the Black Pants Legion. And they do a lot of streaming of games online, like long plays and those sorts of things. But the lead guy named Tex also does these massive, like hour and a half, 2 hour documentaries on BattleTech stuff basically trolling to the last 40 years of source material. And the reason I'm giving them a shout out is not because of all that, but because most of those larger projects that they do as fundraisers, and they give all of the money to children's hospitals or to help people out with their debt, or just basically whatever they can do to help their community and just the people like us who are just around them. And I think that's really cool, and I just want to have some more eyes on them. So if that at all sounds like something you're interested in, give them a look. I don't have a website for them, but if you search for Black Pants Legion pretty much anywhere, but probably on YouTube, I don't think anything else will come up. It's pretty specific.
All right. Cool.
That's awesome.
Right. It's not like the Black Underpants Legion.
No,
Okay.
It's not.
Okay. Daniel, I told you at the very beginning that you'd have to give final advice, and now is that time, sir.
Yeah, I think, and this is advice that I wish I'd gotten earlier on in my career, is make and publish whatever your field is. Make and publish more smaller things than trying to get one big thing out. In those last 10% of work between this is pretty good and hitting publish on a button somewhere on a website, there's a lot that you learn in that last 10%. And so to learn that over and over and over again with like smaller projects will fully prepare you for that magnum opus that you have in your head.
I heartily agree that, get a bunch of stuff done while you're doing your magnum opus, right?
Yeah.
While you're making that fantasy heartbreaker that's going to crush D&D, you can do other things and put those other things out. That'll help build your brand, help build your community, help sharpen those swords that you'll be able to solve problems in your magnum opus that if you didn't have something else to like refocus your brain on, you might not never ever get past that hump. So very good advice. Make
100%.
lots of little things so that you can fix those little mistakes and then learn from them so that when you are doing your big thing, you're not making big mistakes.
Exactly.
That are impossible to fix. Great. Cool. George, what are we doing next week?
Well, we're going to be doing more of this topic, but we need to think of something. I have an idea, but I need to see if we can get more than one person for it, because I think it'd be better with a panel. So we'll discuss it afterwards, and we'll fall back on something else if not.
Okay. Well, everybody, we'll see you here next week, same time, same place. Love you all. Talk to you later. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.